Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to be among other community builders. This is a new space for me to be in, and I just found out that we're able to have Q&A at the end of this, so I'm gonna try and move a little bit more quickly, because it's always a lot more interesting when we share thought leadership among each other. We're all here doing great things, and so if you have questions or if you have comments at the end, start thinking about them now. So I'm Alaina Percival, co-founder and CEO of Women Who Code, the world's largest and most active community of diverse women technologists. And I'm working on a big opportunity, because right now, every industry is becoming a technology industry. So whatever you're interested in, community building, healthcare, shipping, fashion, news, all of the industries out there are becoming technology industries. And what we know is that software engineering roles are expected to rise by 40 million roles by 2030 globally. We hear loud and clear from the industry, dear women, we need you. But the reality is that many of the people in the industry are thinking about leaving right now. About 80% of women are considering leaving their technology roles, and about 50% actually will at that 10-year mark. And it's higher than we see in other areas of STEM. Women are often reporting feeling as though they're the only in the room. They're 3 times more likely to be viewed as junior or non-technical at all. So having to constantly think about proving yourself in the workplace takes a lot of energy that you could just be doing to shine and excelling in your career. So I've got a secret. The fastest and easiest way to create greater equality for both women and girls in the tech industry is by supporting the incredible diverse talent that is here today. We need them to thrive. We need them to stay on as leaders, gain influence, and help to create systemic change by being role models and putting forward equity-centered decision-making and changing what leadership looks like. Because every single time we can create a sense of belonging and ultimately retain one of those 50% of women likely to leave the tech industry, their technology careers, it represents $1.7 million in lifetime earnings for that individual, for her family, for her community. So that is how I got to building Women Who Code, this incredible community that is focused globally with inclusion at the core. And our goal is to change the face of tech. We can't do that without putting inclusion at the center. We see challenges, big challenges, as opportunities. And through community, what we're all passionate about, what we're all great at doing, we create real change in the industry and in the lives of our members. Women Who Code has been able to grow as quickly as we have through our volunteers. We have on average about 600 volunteers at any given time throughout the year that are committed and ongoing volunteers within the organization. And we would never have been able to expand as quickly as we have without them both building and being part of the community. And our volunteers are amazing, and they put the mission forward and they bring it to their community, but they're also some of the ones that benefit the most from our programming. And that's because it's practice-based leadership, where I spoke earlier about how women are viewed as more junior. They're often going from individual contributor to your first leadership position is an incredible challenge. So practicing being on a stage, practicing leading a project gives you something to talk about inside of your organization. So some of the things that our volunteers, our leaders experience within a year of stepping up with Women Who Code is direct channels of dialogue to leaders and executives inside of their organization, promotions, pay increases, speaking opportunities. We've had some people get advisory roles and even a couple get book deals. So these are high potential individuals who they move to the front of that room in a space that gives them the ability to practice leadership, and it accelerates their career significantly. Some of my favorite stories are our Mexico City leader who told me her salary had increased 200% in under 1 year of stepping up as a Woman Who Code leader. And one of our Vancouver directors who was individual contributor, stepped up as a leader, was promoted to lead inside of her organization within about 6 months, and she slacked me at just under a year and said, I took a new role, I'm now director. She climbed 2 rungs in the ladder. So these are high potential individuals getting access and leading their community through that access, paying it forward and bringing that into their roles and their companies and having a ripple effect. Women Who Code also is focused on access. And in just 12 years, we've grown to reach members in 147 countries. And about 10 years ago, I stood on our first ever hackathon stage, and I celebrated growing 3x that year to 6,000 members. And now Women Who Code is serving 343,000 members. So when you think about us retaining those individuals, the 50% most likely to leave with a sense of belonging, with access, with changing the system so that we're able to make sure that they stay in their careers, our impact is tremendous. But if we look at just at the individual level, even a small annual pay increase, Women Who Code's annual market impact for our community is already $1 billion per year. And we've only scratched the surface of our potential. It's amazing serving a community of about 350,000 members, but we know we're just at the beginning. There's over 7 million out there that we can see those numbers and that impact happening for them, and so we want to continue to go forward. Some of the ways that we serve our community is by elevating role models, thought leaders that look like and represent and can inspire our members to have that similar pathway. So when we share something on social media or have someone on a podcast or make a recommendation to a writer for who to feature in a thought leadership quote, we're creating role models and opportunities for not only the individual, but for our community as well. We also are a language agnostic organization, so because our volunteers are so incredible, they are paying attention to what is changing in the industry, what's happening next, but we also hear from our partners and from the industry about some of the most critical areas to grow in skills, and so we go deep in those areas. We're probably best known for our ongoing events. We put on about 150 events per month, and these events are put on by our volunteers, our fellows all over the globe. They're in different programming languages and different career-related topics, and they're also in different time zones, and almost all of them are featuring a couple, 1 or 2, diverse thought leaders. So elevating the profile of individuals in tech. And I remember when I got started at this about 12 years ago. You would hear about Marissa Mayer and Sheryl Sandberg, and it felt like, are they the only leaders in tech? And that is not true. There are thousands of brilliant technologists, diverse technologists, who are creating the technologies and creating the systems as all industries are becoming technology industries, and we're continuing to move so quickly. We are deeply dedicated to providing access, and so one of the ways that we're able to do that, since we've gone digital with the majority of our events starting in 2020, like so many of us, is through our on-demand content. And so now we're able to produce videos and be able to produce channels where people can go deep. We have Spanish language channels, Ukrainian channels, and many different other opportunities where people can focus on learning what they need to learn when they need it most. And I was in there listening to the keynote, and I was like, oh my goodness, the people here, they feel what we've been feeling, and this time is just such an incredibly different moment where Women Who Code was producing close to 2,000 free technical events in person every year, and then the pandemic took place, and we had to completely reskill ourselves, our company, our volunteers to produce digital events. But we had this collective, everyone's going through this. There's this empathy. We're all in it together, and we're going to make it through. And this year, we have focused on what does it look like to go back and starting to go back. And we don't want to give up that incredible access, because we used to only produce events in about 25 countries, and suddenly we were able to serve our members wherever they were, all over the world, and we want to continue that access. So we're having to really completely adapt and double the work our organization is doing again this year, while also facing incredible market pressures. But we've seen, just like so many people are seeing, right now, when our community needs us most, the industry is hurting, and those budgets are being cut. And so we, too, as this organization who's seen such an uptick in growth and engagement with our community, we've had to struggle this year, just like so many other community groups, with the tech industry pulling back on community funding. Oops. So we're 10 years on in friendship, or 12 years on really in friendship and belonging. And another way that we serve our community is through our scholarship and our opportunities program, because we don't want them to just engage in the events that we're producing and the podcasts that we're producing, the social media and programming that we're producing. We want you to engage in the broader tech community, and it also enables us to serve our members in a way that we aren't doing. So it's incredibly important that we're giving away scholarships. So this year, we've already given away over $500,000 in coding scholarships just to our community members, as well as over $500,000 in tickets to major events like conferences. Because when I was at an event in New York in 2019, I spoke with a woman who was a member of a community, and she said she actually, even though she was a technologist, hadn't been going to conferences. She got a free ticket through Women Who Code and went, and it gave her thought leadership points to bring back to her company. And she had, just from that aspect of our organization, made connections and inroads inside of her company that resulted in her getting a promotion within 6 months. So even this program that we thought, hey, yeah, we're just going to be a media partner for all of these great events, is serving real purpose in the lives of our community members. We also have a job board that was built by taking into account the needs of busy, talented, diverse engineers and the bias that they face every day. So if any of your organizations are thinking about hiring technologists, please share your best technology roles with the Women Who Code community. We also found that in moving from in-person to online, there was some challenges around building that connection, because when you're in person, you can have that 5-minute, hallway track conversation, and it just creates a sense of belonging that being in, endless Zoom events don't really capture without a lot of intention. And so one of the ways that we found to navigate that and build that in an online space for our community is longer form programming. So we have a hackathon for good. And so often hackathons are just weekend events where you're spending the night, and that has actually never worked for our community. Often women cited not feeling safe spending the night in these spaces, or having different conflicting priorities and not being able to provide an entire weekend to focus on this. So this really works for our community to address that online space, but also the needs of our members. So our Hackathon for Good is a month-long program. We also have the Days of Code Challenge, which is going to be coming up in the new year, where people commit to learning together, that social pressure. It's so difficult to meet your own goals, especially for women are so often kind of putting their goals and needs last in their family and inside of their organization. And so this gives you that commitment to set a goal and meet it together as a community, while also building a sense of belonging in the online space where you continuing to meet and see the same people over and over again to build that sense of belonging. And what we know is leadership happens at all levels, which is each and every one of you here and each and every person within our organization. But what I want to ask everyone here to do is to really think about activating. How can you activate to shamelessly support this incredible organization, but also just really think about bringing equity-centered decision-making into practices and policies inside of your organization, and what is your voice and your role in that? So first, shameless plug, join Women Who Code, and if Women Who Code isn't right for you, find the organization that is equity-centered for you to join, that you can be bringing their mission and their values back into your day-to-day inside of your organization. Advocate for different practices, different policies. Look at every single thing that you read with a lens of someone came up with this, someone decided this is the way it is, or this is the industry standard, and it doesn't have to be that way. It can be improved, whether that is the hiring practice of we're going to post on LinkedIn and we're going to get the exact same people who our people are already connected to, or we're going to ask the same questions that we always ask in the interview process, even though if we actually ran the numbers, we would see diverse candidates dropping out around, this or this or this question or this point in the process. Or as you're doing employee reviews, thinking through how you're interpreting who is interacting and who's high potential and who's committed, or how you're defining who gets projects. I had a Women Who Code member. She was a leader in the organization, and at the time, a little bit junior in her technology career. And she was on this project that was one of those, it's going to be high profile. The people in it are going to be the ones that are getting the accolades inside of the organization. And so you know who got it? It was the same people who are always getting those. So that was a huge opportunity to give this individual who started it and then had to bring that core crew that had the lines of power already drawn for them inside of the organization, instead of keeping her on the project and having it be a growth opportunity for her. They saw her as strong enough to get it started, but not strong enough to continue throughout it. So thinking about how projects are allocated and promotions are given, looking at all of the different policies and practices and opportunities to create more equity inside your organization. And support, whether that is giving a talk, sharing your community building expertise, finding ways to give back in the way that makes sense for you. So I hope that you will join us in our vision of a world where diverse women and historically excluded individuals thrive at every level in technology. Because as a community, we are powerful.
Let's make sure we stand for our speakers today. Thank you, Alaina. And we have a couple minutes, so yeah. Okay, we do have a couple minutes for Q&A because this is kind of our more intimate space. We won't have it with every speaker, but Alaina's been kind enough to give us a few minutes. So we do have a roaming mic that we can pass as well, but if you feel like you have a strong voice, feel free to raise your hand. And yes, back there.
Also, say your name and what company you're with, because this is, if you're not already doing it, this is your talk at CMX.
Hi, Alaina. So, great talk. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. I personally have been a strong advocate of helping more people learn technology and building spaces where it's helpful for them to beginner-friendly spaces. So I wanted to ask what we as men in technology can do more in a better way, and how we can, what message you would like to give to all the tech professionals out there, how to be more empathetic towards helping more women and other non-binary and all other, how to be more inclusive like that, yeah.
So the messages that I was sharing is for everyone. Advocate for policies and examine policies inside of your organization and practices inside of your organization for equity. Imagine that it was written wrong and it doesn't need to be that way. And so you really have the opportunity to change things. But another thing that Women Who Code does is something that we call Applaud Her. And it's because it's a little more difficult for society to hear us talk about our career successes, and it's a little bit more uncomfortable for us to share out our career successes. And so you can be, sharing out those every day. They contributed to this project well. These are the the things that they're doing, like advocate, be someone who's amplifying their contributions in the way that society makes it a little bit more uncomfortable to do it. And I realized how important that program was when I was speaking with a director of engineering at a well-known technology company, and she said, "Alaina, you are right. I've actually been senior director of engineering for about 6 months now, and I've been embarrassed to update my LinkedIn profile." And this was a mic drop moment for me. This individual who had a new contract, a new pay amount, a new title, all of the things that should make it really easy to talk about, this very legitimate career success. So if she can't talk about that, how difficult is it to talk about when, you've played a strong role or any role inside of a project or the things that happen every single day that don't have that legitimacy around it. And so be a champion and also continue to look at the practices and see how they can be improved. Also, shameless plug, support Women Who Code.
There's one just down here. Yeah.
Can I just?
Yeah. Up to you. There's a mic coming behind
I
you.
can
Yeah.
do that. There you are.
Hi, Alaina. Great talk. My name is Happiness. I'm from Mwananchi Communications in Tanzania. So I had digital innovation. We're the oldest newspaper, well, one of them in the country. So in my department, we also have an innovation hub. And we recently launched a product that's essentially like a LinkedIn for women, but dedicated to African women. So shameless plug here. But one, how does a corporate partner with Women Who Code? Because one of the things that I've seen so much alignment between Women Who Codes and what we're trying to do with our platform. It's called Rising Women. And we don't have a lot of women who are in this space in Tanzania. And I think our platform works really, really well to promote that in a virtual space, but also I think there could be great linkages there. So I notice you're also not in Tanzania. So what's the process to get representation? Because I'd be very happy to champion that.
Yeah. So that's a great question, and the answer is probably a little bit different for you than it might be for like corporations out there. So you would just interact with our global team. There's a sign up to get involved on our website, and then you can email global@womenwhocode.com, reaches our program team. If you think your company might be open to becoming a sponsor of Women Who Code, partnerships@womenwhocode.com. And there is a C-level person on all of those email addresses. It's not just going to someone who never looks at the messages. Also, if anybody has a question and there's someone else who's like, I know a great answer to that, feel free to jump in and share your thought leadership. Yes.
Just quick. I would love a picture of you with your last slide because it was very powerful. And it went too fast. Yep, that's the one. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for one last question just over here. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Madeline, and I'm at Cohere for AI, a nonprofit research lab for researchers in AI. And our leads are incredible. They're bringing in speakers. We've got events all the time, but the leads in our community are typically bringing in male speakers. Do you have any advice for how we spread this message and kind of support this group of leaders within our community to see the value here and to look more broadly and consider more diverse voices when they're bringing in speakers?
So you want to influence the people who are selecting the people, right?
That's right. So these are people who are volunteering their time.
Yeah.
I'm on their side. I want to support them. There's no finger wagging going on.
Yeah. So one of the interesting things in working with volunteers, which I'm sure many people know here, is you can't say you have to do this and you have to do this now. But bringing forward the direct idea and maybe pointing to, from my knowledge background, like Women Who Codes, emerging technologies track, and pointing out maybe some of the speakers that they had on AI topics or something like that, or just directly telling them that it's important to be an inclusive community. And have they come across any thought leaders in the space that that we might want to ask to be a speaker? I think it's okay to say that.
Thank you.